when it came down to the WBO, WBC junior middleweight title fight between Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora, one question arose out of the circumstances regarding this fight, and it is, at what point do you save your investment? Let's talk about it. The WBC and WBO World Title Unification match that took place on March 30th against Tim Tszyu, WBO champion, and challenger Sebastian Fundora. The fight ended being a bloody affair. The two men were both saturated in the gore that is the ugly aspect of boxing, when you see fighters give their all for our entertainment. As the bout opened up, Tim Tszyu, the reigning champion for WBO, the WBC title was added at the 11th hour when this fight was made. Tim Tszyu was in control of the match. He was peppering Sebastian Fundora with shots that had Fundora definitely on the defensive, and was looking a little bit confused because Tszyu was tagging him at will. Now, we've talked about Fundora being an oddity at this particular weight, being 6'6" with an 80-inch reach, but men who have faced him have found that he doesn't like to use the reach and extremities that he possesses an advantage with. And Tszyu, who took this fight willingly after his original opponent, Keith Thurman, fell out, decided to attack Fundora, especially since he had been stopped in his previous fight against Brian Mendoza, a former foe that Tszyu had conquered in his own last fight. He was having great success until the end of the second round, when a wayward incident happened where his head clashed against Fundora's elbow/forearm, opening up a severe cut over Tim Tszyu's head, pretty much over the left side of his scalp, beyond his hairline, so it's further back on the top of the head. But the gash was deep and penetrating, and the blood began to flow. The irony is, by the end of the second round, Tszyu had put punishment on Fundora as well, and it appears now that we found at the later stage, in aftermath of the bout, that he broke Fundora's nose, and he bled profusely from the nose and mouth through the rest of the bout. When the doctor was called to the ring apron before the beginning of the third round, he looked at Tszyu's corner and acknowledged that this cut was really bad. And at that point, they had an opportunity to stop the fight. It could have been declared a no contest. If it goes beyond 4 rounds, they would go to the scorecards, but at the end of the 4th round, they could go and declare the fight according to who was ahead at the time that you stop it. Now, what was interesting is Tszyu's corner chose to continue to send him out there, and I'm certain that Tszyu wanted to fight, being the warrior that he is, and all that he had worked for to have this moment of glory. This was his first big fight in Vegas. He wanted to show that he can provide the entertainment as a world champion on the world's big stage of Las Vegas. He toiled hard for this moment. Better heads, cooler heads should have prevailed as the cut became a problem, especially since the cornermen did not have the correct substances to clot the blood or even stop the cut from bleeding as profusely as it was. The end result was both men were covered through blood throughout the fight, and Zoo could no longer see properly because though they would clot the cut with what appeared to be Vaseline, maybe another substance, but nothing, a coagulant that could stop the bleeding on the spot. As he would rise from his stool in each ensuing round, Zoo would encounter blood beginning to trickle down over his eye. This made he a victim of where Fundora was forced to acknowledge to use the skill sets that he ordinarily doesn't. He began to realize that with Zoo's incapacitations, he could use his extremities, his reach, his distance, and he fought to keep Zoo at the end, and Zoo was having a more difficult time of being as accurate as he was prior to the cut happening. The fight began to have a little bit of back and forth, more so than Zoo having a dominance that he was showing from the onset. As each round passed, people were wondering, why aren't they stopping this fight? It was rumored that people as far back as the 4th row surrounding the ring were getting blood on themselves because of the blood that was splattering with these men combating. The investment in the title of the film is Tim Tszyu, a fighter from Australia, son of a legend, Costa Tszyu, in his first big-time fight. If they had stopped this fight and allowed it to be a no contest and have him come back at a later date and time and face Fundora all over again, would he have fared better? You could say hindsight being 20/20, that would definitely be the case. But this doesn't have to be a rule of hindsight. Why were his corner not more experienced in dealing with what they were facing at the moment? There was so much on the line. Tim's undefeated record, the belts that had been added, the fact that it was a big-time Vegas event. We have seen horrible situations in Vegas, from Tyson biting someone in a championship fight to Fan Man trying to enter the ring. So something like this, which is like almost more of a natural occurrence, even though it's not a natural thing, would have been okay to look at and say, hey, we'll come back another day. But now Tszyu ends this affair without his titles, with a loss added to his record, and because he was definitely a threat in the division to the previous champ, he now has to loom on the outside looking in, and there's no guarantee that he will be re-invited to the dance. So should they have made a decision looking at their investment? Of course they should have, and that's where they let Tim Tszyu down. But also look at it like this. It doesn't have to be just Tim Tszyu. Look at it for the fighter. He has a life outside of the ring. He has family. He has a career. And you don't sacrifice all of that for one night of glory when things are not advantageous for you. And I see this as a missed opportunity for Tim Tszyu's corner and his handlers, people around him, not standing forward in support in lieu of the best interests of he, but they were selfishly looking at everything overall. Tim is a warrior, and warriors do what they do. They go out and battle. But someone has to call the warrior home. What do you think? This is Stormy B Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Leave thoughts and let's discuss further. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.